Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well, and it's time for our weekly track roundup, possibly our last one for the year, unless something major comes up, honestly. But, it's December. It's the end of the year. Things start kind of winding down a little bit in terms of releases and everything. And, on top of it, list week is coming up. We're starting to get into end of year coverage too. So, not as many new songs to cover. In fact, this video is a compilation of tracks from the past couple of weeks because I didn't really do a weekly track roundup the week before this one. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. My feelings on a bunch of songs that have been recently released. They are all linked down below, whether I love them or hate them or feel somewhere in between. Also linked down below per usual, we have our Turntable Lab link. We get kickback from it. Hey, holiday season. If you use our link in the D box to buy some vinyl, some turntable stuff, some speakers, some whatever, a gift for yourself, someone you like who's a big music fan, music nerd in your life, we get kickback from it. Supports the channel. That's all you got to know. What also supports us is being a part of our Patreon. You get some extra bonus monthly content in the process too. Access to our Discord community as well. Monthly classic album live streams, all that good stuff. Shout out to the Shorts page on YouTube, and shout out to the revamped website with a new section that has multiple amazing contributors putting articles up on it every day. These pieces are not written by yours truly. Some people on social media seem to presume that is the case. No, we have great contributors on the website who are just updating the platform with music news every week, every day. Check it out, theneedledrop.com, link down below as well. All right, worst tracks of the week. We have a few. They're as follows. Bam, this new track from Nicki Minaj with Juice WRLD that is on this like pink print anniversary edition. I mean, not only is it just like a totally thrown together track, but on top of it, like, how does this make sense on a record that came out like 4 years before Juice WRLD's breakout album? Like, what is even the point? Like, why are we doing this? Why is this necessary anyway? Also, Jack Harlow has a new one titled Hello, Miss Johnson, which is essentially like Miss Jackson for white people. That's really all it is. Like, hey, I like this girl. I'm going to have a bit of a dialogue with her mom. It's going to be boring. It's going to be bland. And you're really not going to remember much of it by the time it's over. All right, let's move on to the tracks that I was meant on. Not loving, not hating, feeling somewhere in between. Here we go. New one from Weather Station. I enjoyed the previous single a lot much more than this one. This track over here is titled Window. And this kind of sounds like if you had Paula Cole doing art rock, like, that kind of 90s piano-led singer-songwriter type stuff. But again, in like more of an art rock context. It's not too bad, but, certainly not as well-written and, melodically sticky as the last track, in my opinion. We also have a new one over here from singer-songwriter Mr. Richard Dawson, who I'm not really, blown away by with this recent crop of tracks and singles. I just kind of feel like he's streamlining his sound and his style a little bit. And while I do think he is still very much like, a solid singer and songwriter and, performer, I feel like a lot of the eccentricities of his, approach to folk and folk rock, it's being torn down a little bit on these new tracks, especially this Boxing Day sale track, which I think, like, again, is sort of simplifying things, streamlining things. I mean, sure, Richard Dawson does have a very recognizable, one-of-a-kind sort of voice, but I feel like he's toning things down a little bit vocally to sort of, I don't know, make his sound, make something more palatable. The chord progression is okay. There are some synced up vocal and guitar melodies that I think are, very much his trademark that definitely stand out and are pretty sharp, but I feel like he's written more exemplary stuff, and I will leave it there. Moving on from there, Lupe Fiasco has this new kind of like connected single release with a verse, but we're going to focus on the Pound for Pound track that he's put out here. It's kind of an interesting song. I mean, his bars are not bad, but it sort of feels like he's rapping over a beat that is just like pulling a lot of inspiration from Kanye's Black Skinhead, or, you know, like an arena rock type song that obviously that track kind of pulls from. And I don't know if this sort of beat is Lupe's strong suit, especially after that really great Samurai record that dropped not too long ago. I mean, obviously it dropped this year, and it's one of my favorite rap records of the year, frankly, but I just feel like this doesn't even really begin to hold a candle to anything on that record. But regardless, moving from there, we have a new one from Lil Nas X, who is also oddly pulling a little bit of Kanye influence on this new track over here, Need That Boy, which is like this, you know, pop and rap hybrid, and is very, very, very 808s coded. Especially in the first leg, which I think is just very supremely a drag. When the dance beats come in the final leg, it is a bit of a, you know, a crescendo. It is a bit of a payoff, but it's kind of too little too late, in my opinion. I just kind of was wishing for a bigger hook, more momentum overall. Still, though, Kesha has a new track out titled Delusional. I'm feeling kind of mixed on this one, too, honestly. While I did think Joyride, the first kind of big single to mark this album cycle, had its issues, it at least felt like kind of new, and, you know, it seemed like she was taking a few risks and doing something genuinely weird and left field on that track. And I will admit, like, the bit of cringe that song sort of rode in on, I feel like that's kind of like the edge of that has been softened a bit, and I am enjoying some of the catchier moments on the track without having to sort of wince listening to them. Joyride. Like, you know, there's a great wild energy to the song that I can appreciate. However, this track, Delusional, with its production and the way she's singing on the track, it really kind of feels like she's trying to reconnect with, like, the version of herself that originally broke onto the music scene well over a decade ago. And I feel like trying to recapture that energy is just, you know, proving to be a bit awkward, at least on this track. I am getting a sense that she's going to try to give us some sort of return to form on this new record. And for sure, I'm excited for the moments where that does actually, like, go over well. But I feel like on this track, it's not quite as much working out. Next, though, Kenny Mason on Relief gives us a decent and passable, you know, light on the ears, emo trap type ballad, very low key, but nothing, you know, super urgent or anything like that. We also have a bit of piano rock on this new Franz Ferdinand track, Night or Day, which is a decent listen, but nothing, you know, over the top or amazing from the band. Nothing you haven't heard them do before, getting a bit dramatic with it. And Disclosure with Salieu hits us with this King Steps track, and Pa, in my opinion, vocally is really what makes the song. Disclosure, while they do bring a good groove in the background, there's not a whole lot of development or structure around the track, and if it wasn't for you know, the vocals, I just wouldn't really have much to compliment the song on, honestly. I feel like it could have been a lot, you know, more interesting on the production side, and it would have made for a total and complete track, but I feel like I'm getting a great feature, I'm getting a great vocal, but not much else, frankly. And Aminé hits us with a new single as well, rapping and doing his thing over a dance beat, and, you know, he's the kind of, like, versatile, all-around talented, sort of very warm, welcoming type of artist who I feel like can make that transition and do that sort of thing without, like, there being a question of, you know, whether or not he's in the right lane or anything like that. You know, I think it fits his vibe very well, but I don't think it's like the strongest song or anything. I would love to see him, like, hit this kind of groove, hit this kind of vibe again with a better hook or a better melody or something. And Amber Mark is heading in a very low key, very, very low key, very understated direction on this Wait So Yeah new single, which, I mean, I'm usually more of a fan of like vibrant, brassy, bold, over the top anthemic, sort of Amber Mark tracks. This new song over here seems like she's kind of stripping things back in a very sensual, minimal, nocturnal, tinashe sort of way, because she's definitely been kind of like defining that sound a little bit as of late. And, maybe it'll win some people over. It's not necessarily doing too much for me, though. Best tracks of the week, we have a handful of those. They are as follows. First off, I would like to feature this compilation put out by Red Hot Transa, which is a benefit comp celebrating trans people, which features dozens of tracks, dozens of different artists, big and small, allies, and numerous individuals across the LGBTQ spectrum. And the one song I would like to feature in particular is this track from Sade Adu. Yes, that Sade. First new original cut released in years and years and years and years and years. Young Lion is the name of the track, and it's an ode to her son, who is, in fact, trans. And it's a beautiful performance, great writing, wonderful ballad. And check out the rest of the compilation as well, and give your money to support if you possibly can. That's linked down below, along with this new one from Miguel, Always Time. Heavily impressed with this new track. To me, this track sort of felt like a bit of a grunge / R&B ballad fusion with a stellar vocal performance and very simple but beautiful guitar work all over the song as well. Really impressed with this one, much more than I am usual tracks from Miguel. And not to say that he doesn't have great songs in his back catalog, but I feel like he really went above and beyond with this song. I was starting to feel like I more or less sort of knew what to expect from Miguel, and this track really surprised me, and that's how I'll put it. All right, moving on from there, shout out to Madi Diaz, who has given us a very beautiful but simple, and I would say emotionally, painful at points, Christmas ballad on Kid on Christmas. The song really kind of speaks for itself, especially given how simple and raw the presentation of it is. Give it a spin, especially if you're feeling a bit moody this holiday season, and I mean that in a good way. All right, moving on from there. Jorja Smith has graced us with another great ballad on Stay Another Day. Of course, killer pianos and vocals all over this one. Next, HiTech has come out with a track featuring ZelooperZ. Shadow Realm is the title. This is a trio from Detroit who are really bringing back like a crazy tech ghetto house combination sort of sound. It's raunchy, it's hyper, it's in your face. I'm loving the energy, I'm loving the nastiness, and I'm liking just how raw it is, frankly. And ZelooperZ brings a lot of character to the track as well. Looking forward to seeing where these guys go in the next year, because it seems like they're getting kind of a push behind what they do. All right, shout out to Fat Dog, who recently had a very impressive album drop not too long ago that I very much enjoyed. They put out this new non-album single titled Peace Song, and if this is like a leftover from the album or just some kind of random track, whatever, I could see why it wouldn't have made the album, because the vibes, the instrumentation on the song, it's actually kind of bright and positive. It does actually live up to its title. Many of the songs on that recently released Fat Dog album are quite odd and dark and strange and a little tortured, albeit still very dancey and groovy. This Peace Song track, though, is actually very warm and sort of positive for Fat Dog, and I feel like they work just as good going in this direction too. I'm liking the songwriting and the beats on this track quite a bit as well. They still kind of hold to their usual post-punk flavor, but it's a much brighter sound, I'll say that. All right, and shout out also to Courting, whose last full-length LP I wasn't that crazy about. However, I feel like this new single, Pause at You, smooths over a lot of the issues that I had with some of the experiments and some of the ideas that they had on their last record. I mean, I feel like recently Courting has been experimenting and falling short, trying to incorporate bits of electronics and auto-tune into this very kind of like rough and tumbled, lo-fi indie rock sound, and it was an awkward fit. It wasn't quite working, but I feel like they've got the recipe more down path on this new track. The way the auto-tune is applied on the vocals, it sort of mixes with a bit of distortion, and it feels like very, you know, sort of like natural and, you know, sort of subversive and weird, and on top of it, it's like a generally, you know, very hype and very entertaining little underground rock song that is attached to too. You know, it just has like these little extra weird bells and whistles that feel specific to Courting, and it's you know, quite a cool little assembly of sounds they've come through with on this new single. And shout out to André 3000, who's actually come through with a really interesting, really great leftover from the you know, New Blue Sun sessions. Tunnels of Egypt is the name of the track, and I could see why the song wouldn't have made the record, because it doesn't feel quite as like idyllic and new agey as a lot of the material on New Blue Sun. However, if more of the Andre sort of free improv, jazz, instrumental stuff that he's working on continues in this direction, I'm actually going to be liking, you know, future Andre projects quite a bit, because there is something kind of like dark and eerie genuinely about like the drones and the vibes and the lead melodies on this Tunnels of Egypt track, and it comes attached to a new EP he's recently come out with as well, because you know, it's interesting to sort of see him progress further into this direction. And yeah, you know, just shouting this track out. And again, look up the Moving Day EP if you're looking for more, because it's, you know, more instrumental Andre material. And that is the weekly track roundup, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Anthony Fantano, Weekly Tracks 2024. Hopefully you got some good recommendations out of this video. I'll see you in the next review, the next whatever, very soon. Yeah. Weekly Tracks forever.